Now we can begin with the opening session on IRENA projects and initiatives in ASEAN region and a renewable energy roadmap and flexibility analysis. So now I will leave the floor to my colleague Yossi to go a bit more over the current IRENA engagement in ASEAN. Yossi, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vinu. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to IRENA's virtual training on FlexTool. But before we start on the content, I would like to give you a brief information about IRENA's engagement in Southeast Asia. But before that, for those who are not familiar with IRENA, the agency established in 2011. And currently we have 161 members and 22 states in accessions. And across IRENA's growing global membership, we continue to witness an unprecedented expansion of renewable energy driven by technological advances, falling costs, enabling policy frameworks, and the imperative to meet sustainable development and climate objectives. Next slide, please. And here are our regional initiatives throughout the globe. So not only for Southeast Asia, we also have several regional initiatives in Latin America, for example, Africa, in Arab, Central Asia, Southeast Europe, and in the next slide, I will give you brief information on our engagement with the regions. Next slide, please. So to facilitate the scaling up of renewables in the regions and also to support the realization of the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, or we call APAC, ASEAN and IRENA signed a Memorandum of Understanding in 2018 during a 36th AMEM and also in conjunction with the Singapore International Energy Week. And the MOU, along with the action plan, it represents the strong commitment from IRENA to assist the region in its energy transformation and also to solidify the strong partnership with ASEAN. And IRENA is already working together with the regions on priority areas of cooperation, including energy planning, development of regional renewable energy roadmap, policy and regulatory frameworks to support renewable deployment, capacity building on renewable energy related topics, renewable energy technology, innovation, and financing. Next slide, please. And since the signing, the several activities in supporting the regions in renewable energy agenda have been implemented. And together with the ASEAN member states and also our strong partners in the region, ASEAN Center for Energy, IRENA organized regional workshops focusing on policy frameworks for auction and also to accelerate investment and also project facilitation to develop bankable renewable energy projects. And also during AMEM last year in Bangkok, IRENA organized Innovation Day. The focus is on innovative solution for the reliable integration of variable renewable energy in power system. And the Innovation Day showcased innovation in digital technologies, the impact of novel business models, the role of energy storage, the potential of hydrogen, as well as electrification of transport, including electric vehicles. And the agency is also committed to participate in energy events of ASEAN member states. For example, last year we participated at Singapore International Energy Week. We also participated at Indonesia EBTKE Connects and also Vietnam Energy Partnership Group. Next slide, please. So these are my last slide mentioning about our priority in the regions for this year and also next year. So first, we will update the ASEAN Renewable Energy Outlook, which was first published in 2016. And the new report, it planned to be published in 2021. It will include a larger energy transition view to 2050. It will use IRENA remap and FlexTool and also cover energy efficiency, power system analysis, end-use sector coupling, and macroeconomic analysis. My colleagues, Ricardo and Emanuele, will give you more information about this during their presentations in the next few minutes. And also, we will assist the region to develop a strategy on scaling up the use of biomass for the accelerated deployment of sustainable and modern bioenergy, and also to integrate it into long-term energy planning. And we will conduct webinars on various renewable energy topics, and one of it is this today's webinar on FlexTool. And we also have country engagement with Indonesia and Malaysia, and also we will organize Southeast Asia Investment Forum in 2021, which aims to scale up renewable energy investment in the regions, and also to support project development and implementation, and to contribute to the creation of policy and regulatory frameworks conducive to renewable energy investment. And this regional forum is part of IRENA's contribution to the climate investment platform, which aims to advance sustainable energy projects to investment maturity and facilitate their access to finance. And the key forum activities will include matchmaking between projects, project developers, and potential financiers and investors. Renewable energy projects, along with renewable-based electricity grid and energy efficiency projects, may be considered for support. And we will also continue to participate in energy events of ASEAN member states. So Vinu, with that, I'll hand it over the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Yossi. So now we can continue and go further in detail on the renewable energy roadmap work that is currently happening in ASEAN region. And for this, I will leave the floor to my colleague Ricardo Gorini. Ricardo, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Vinu. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Yoshi, for the comprehensive explanation of our engagement in the region. This is very helpful. From what Yoshi just explained, we have the ASEAN Renewable Outlook activity. The kickoff is about to happen on June 2020. This is a study that is a successor of the 2016 Renewable Energy Outlook. So probably you already know what type of study are we referring to. We will have engagement with all member states and through ACE. So the idea is to develop what we call this planned energy scenario. So it's a reference case, and on top of this reference case, we do analyze the renewable energy penetration and also energy efficiency, and that's related to specific technologies and sectorial analysis. So that would be industry, transport, buildings, as well power sector. So then we have what we call this transforming energy scenario, the remap case. The idea is to be aligned with Paris Agreement. This is the context of the workshop that you will be having today. This is important as part of the future activities and engagement. We also have power system analysis. So this is part of the big picture of the study. And as Yoshi just explained as well, two specific country analysis for both remap and FlexTool. So also as a context, next slide, please. I would like to present you, we just launched the Global Renewable Outlook last month. And this is interesting as a global context and to highlight the importance of flexibility. So first, what we understand is that the world is heading to electrification and increasing renewable penetration. So if we want to go to the Paris Agreement targets, we are talking about six-fold increase needed in terms of renewable energy. So we need to accelerate. So the historical progress is there, but not yet as we would like to in terms of acceleration needed. We need to reach by 2050 66% of renewable energy penetration in total final energy consumption. So this is together with energy efficiency, as you can see below. The energy intensity improvement rate also needs to increase from past as well perspectives. So both together, we understand are key to deliver the energy transformation. Next slide, please. So under this increasing electrification that I've just explained, I think the flexibility aspect is key, as we will see a lot of renewable energy from shares from wind, solar, and variable renewable energy electricity. So that will require studies such as the flexibility tool will provide. So it's also interesting to notice that we are talking about a comprehensive end use and power sector analysis. As well, the technologies that are due to this analysis, such as electric vehicles, heat pumps, are also very helpful to complement the possibility of flexibility services. So I'm sure Emanuele will explore further. So please, next slide. Here, we just highlight as well the importance of the storage aspects that are related to the penetration of variable renewable energy. And what you can see, it's a huge increase in both storage aspects and also variable renewable energy. So please have a look on the 2050 numbers. This is really a massive increase. So the power system must achieve the maximum flexibility as possible. So in this context, it's very important, for the region as well. So please, next slide, to better understand how to deal with these aspects related to variable renewable energy and flexibility. So I would like to highlight, please take a second, have a look on the Southeast Asia in this table. So we are expecting by 2050, and you can see renewable energy share is the last column, 85% by 2050. So this is really a very important growth in renewable energy in the region. And in this context, again, please enjoy as much as possible the workshop. This is very helpful for the activities that will come. And with this, thank you very much again. And Binu, with you, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricardo. So now we will continue with the work on flexibility assessments for ASEAN, and I will leave the floor to my colleague Emanuele Taibi. Emanuele, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emanuele Taibi. I'm responsible for power sector transformation strategies at IRENA, and our work includes, of course, the work stream on power system flexibility. So I will start by just giving a general overview of what do we mean by flexibility and the type of work that we do, and then slowly get closer to the topic of today, which is the FlexTool. So first of all, we started working on flexibility a few years ago, and the main driver was really how the power system would look like as we move, as Ricardo said, for instance, in the case of Southeast Asia, from 20% renewable power today towards 85%. What is different there? So the 20% in many countries where there is an established history of renewables in the power sector, no matter if it's 20 or 80%, that historically has been to a large extent hydropower, which has a very different flexibility profile compared to solar and wind. What is changing? Well, all the additional renewables to a large extent will be solar and wind, which are variable resources. So on the flexibility perspective, they require flexibility to come from elsewhere in the system. So hydropower is already providing flexibility to the system. If it's coupled with pump storage, it can do even more than that. If we are moving towards more and more solar and wind into generation, well, it's not an issue. It's simply that we need to look at the power system from a different perspective, and that is to look at flexibility everywhere in the system and try to find a way to create a level playing field for flexibility to be procured and leveraged from all over the system, from generation to distribution, transmission, storage, demand side management, and very importantly, what we call sector coupling. So trying to use this large share of electricity, which is largely going to be renewable electricity, to decarbonize end-use sector like heating where applicable, or cooling, of course, the gas grid through hydrogen and derivatives, and through directly electrifying mobility through, for instance, electric vehicles. I have a definition from our report on the right-hand side. I will not go through it in detail, but essentially we have a heavy emphasis on flexibility for integrating large shares of VRE, which is variable renewables, so solar and wind, and run-of-river hydro. Next slide, please. So in addition to the parts of the power system where flexibility can be leveraged, it's also important to look at aspects such as, let's say, softer components of the power system. And by that, I mean, first of all, to improve the operations of the power system by more efficient hydrothermal co-optimization, shorter dispatch intervals, intraday markets, revision of the ancillary services requirements and associated markets, and better forecast of load and solar and wind generation with frequent updates and closer to delivery updates. Then, of course, you have all the retrofitting to make the supply more flexible. This is the yellow part in the picture. And then next you have the, let's say, the additional options that could be leveraged that are pretty much everywhere underutilized in electricity markets around the world. So demand response is a very important piece. It's not just disconnection of industrial loads during moments of shortages of electricity, but it's also the ability of shift deferrable loads at a later time or to increase the demand when necessary. All the technologies that can go into the grid, but of course an increased emphasis on storage, so retrofitting hydro where possible with pumped hydro, but also batteries, very important these days for fast responses, and sector coupling, as I mentioned before. All these needs to be integrated into an institutional framework and a market design that allows for all these sources of flexibility to compete on a level playing field. Next slide, please. So if you keep clicking on the slide, perfect. So what we released at the end of 2018 was a package. And by a package, what I mean is that in the past, in this area, we had several reports that were focusing on, let's say, the foundations of these topics for policymakers, but we thought we would want to get closer to implementation, which is a bit of strategic direction of the agency. And so we tried to make it as practical as possible. We started with an overview for policymakers, but we complemented that with a methodology on how to assess flexibility that is more aimed at analysts, planners, modelers, and so on. And to do that, we thought there was a gap in the suite of tools available. There are commercial tools to do power system dispatch, many of them out there that we also use. There are, of course, open source and commercial capacity expansion models, but we saw there was a gap in terms of finding a relatively accessible and easy open source dispatch tool. And so we developed together with the VTT Research Center of Finland, the FlexTool, and we applied it with 4 countries. So we started with Thailand in the ASEAN region, which we will present in session 3 today. And from the initial national case studies, now we're moving to regional work. So we did Panama in Central America. Now we are well advanced in doing a regional roadmap and flexibility assessment for Central America. We are starting, and this is the topic of today a bit, the one for ASEAN. And we are starting a series of capacity building events. We had an in-depth training for Cuba, after which we finalized and released on our website the training materials. So today we will do the basic training, but we also have advanced training available on our website. And then, of course, we did a Latin America. Now we're doing the ASEAN, and we will do soon MENA region virtual training. Next slide, please. So essentially, the objective of these flexibility assessments are really to find, first of all, flexibility issues in long-term expansion plans. So if there are flexibility issues, then the tool is available to perform an investment, optimization, or capacity expansion to focus on expanding the flexibility. So to find the least cost mix of flexibility options in the system. So if it's only about increasing supply side flexibility, it's relatively easier. But if you have to find a balanced mix of flexibility options between transmission, distribution, storage, sector coupling, and so on, you really need a tool to be able to optimize the basket of these options. And this is what the FlexTool can do. And finally, it can also help with looking at the potential to push further renewables into the system by doing cost-efficient additional investments, and finally running a sensitivity analysis to see where the flexibility limits are in the system, with all the necessary caveats we will explore later. Final slide from my side. So regional perspective and country perspective. So we're starting this work, as we said, in the ASEAN region to update the renewable energy outlook for ASEAN. This is part of a series of ongoing initiatives in the region, looking at the regional master plan for, let's say, energy in general and power in the specific. And so this exercise is coordinated with the ongoing activities in the region. It will come up with an updated outlook and with a flexibility assessment associated with that. So this was already mentioned before. I will not go too much into the details. And of course, we will have 2 more individual country analysis with more in-depth assessment of the power sector. As you can see at the bottom, we did a renewable energy outlook for Thailand, and we will do 2 more of this in the region, and they will be having a flexibility assessment already included as part of the outlook this time. So this is all from my side, and happy to discuss further as we go along with the day. I think for the time being, we will take a very short technical break. We will run a short poll, and then we will get it into the hands-on part of the training, looking at how to install the FlexTool. Some of you might have it already set up, so you might not need to follow that in too much detail. But what we want to make sure is that at the end of the next session, everybody has the tool up and running and can follow the hands-on test cases, so that we can try to make this training as interactive as possible. So